Unsurprisingly, this TV performs really well, better than I thought it would even, but can I recommend it? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and today I'm going to review the TCL R646. That's the Google TV version of TCL's 6 Series TV. And for a good portion of 2022, this will be one of the most enticing TV choices out there for anyone wanting premium picture quality at a fraction of the price being charged from comparable TVs from the likes of Sony, Samsung, and LG. It's got a lot of tech and a lot of promise, but can I recommend it? Well, let's talk about that. Before I dig into it, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. And if you aren't already subscribed, please consider smashing that subscribe button because we have some exclusive reviews coming up that you'll see here first. And when we hit 1 million subs, I've got a killer giveaway planned and you'll need to be subscribed to be eligible. Thanks in advance for your support. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so let's start with picture settings. Now, if you want to get a feel for the basic picture settings I started with, you can check out our unboxing video for this TV. There's some other useful setup tips in there too, so don't miss them. But the short version for the picture settings is this. I chose the movie picture mode for SDR and HDR, and then Dolby Vision Dark. I turned off motion smoothing, if for no other reason to get a feel for how this TV processes motion without cop-out frame doubling, and that's pretty much it. That gives me a good baseline for testing and comparisons. Now, I promised in the unboxing video that I would check out a few digital picture enhancements on this TV, some of which I hadn't seen offered in a TCL TV before. And I did that, so here's what I found. None of them, dynamic contrast, black stretch, micro contrast, made what I felt were earth-moving improvements in picture quality. They did make a difference you could see though. I'm just not so swayed by any one of them or any of them grouped together that I think they are must-use features. But that's just my personal preference. If you get this TV, give them a shot for yourself and see if the stuff you watch looks better or worse for the adjustments. The Google TV interface doesn't make it easy for you to see the differences in real time as you switch them on and off, but you can make it easier on yourself if you pause the TV on an image that has a good amount of bright and dark areas, something with decent contrast, and use that. That way you can build some memory around what that one image looks like rather than try to track changes while watching a moving TV show, film, or game. Okay, so if you aren't interested in some of the data I got from measurements and you really just want to know what they translate to for real world viewing, you can skip this section. Click the picture quality section link down below. But for those who do, it's time for numbers for Nit Nerds. First off, I have to say that the R646 measured really well in the movie mode right out of the box. Both grayscale and color were right at that line where only some people could perceive something was off. And frankly, most folks would never know, which means you can trust you're getting really accurate results by just clicking the movie preset. And if you prefer something brighter, the Smart HDR mode isn't too bad. That Smart HDR setting, by the way, is as close to a normal or standard preset as this TV has. As far as calibrating goes, with a little tweaking of the 2-point white balance, I was able to get really awesome test results. Errors well below the threshold of human perception for grayscale, and that translated into more accurate color. Frankly, I find that really impressive for a TV in this price class. All right, enough about grayscale and color accuracy. How bright does it get? That seems like the metric everyone geeks out over. Well, I have pretty impressive numbers to share here. In SDR, which has the backlight at about 80%, the TV peaked at 864 nits in a 10% window. In HDR, that number bumped up to 1100 nits. But when I tested various window sizes and checked sustained brightness, I saw anywhere from 13 to 1500 nits. So if I was gonna slap a peak brightness number on this TV like a lot of other reviewers do, I suppose it would be 1200 nits or so. But it is very clear this TV can push that number higher in a little bright highlight area. So up to 1500 nits in the movie mode and even higher in the vivid mode. So that's pretty good for a TV of this price. I mean, really, it's excellent. Also, for grins, I ran some test patterns to check the backlight system. I'm thinking of changing the terminology from test patterns to torture tests because, to be honest, I'm seeing decreasing evidence that strong performance in test patterns is required to see strong performance in real-world viewing. These backlight test patterns seem less and less meaningful, but I did it anyway, and the R646 performed admirably. Was it blatantly obvious I was looking at a mini LED backlight system? No. Was it pretty obvious the TV was doing a good job with local dimming? Yes, absolutely. The short story on the measurements is that they were really strong, but more importantly, the TV performs extremely well for real-world viewing. I watched Ozark, which is a notoriously dark and green-tinted show. I watched Our Planet, which is some of the most gorgeous 4K Dolby Vision content you can stream right now. I watched Disney Pixar stuff. Yes, Encanto, and yeah, I already get way too much of that movie at home, but man, is Lin-Manuel Miranda on fire right now. And I watched a few 4K HDR Blu-ray discs. All of that in addition to all the other stuff I watch on every single TV I review, most of which is a real snore, but hey, that's the job. Bottom line, the TCL R646 is gorgeous. TCL has done it again. I mean, if you have lots more to spend, far be it from me to discourage you from divorcing yourself from your money. But the real value proposition in terms of picture performance is right here. The picture quality is just fire. Now, to be frank, I won the panel lottery here. Like, I got the Megabucks jackpot and the Powerball. This might be the cleanest LCD panel I have ever tested. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, there's some vignetting in the corners, but that's almost inescapable these days. Not saying I love it, but it's really common. Otherwise, this panel is squeaky clean, and I know that has a lot to do with why I'm so impressed with the picture quality. Will you get one this good? I don't know. That's why it's called the panel lottery. I will say, though, that there were no obvious signs that this TV was thoroughly vetted before it came to me, and I can tell when one has been. Honestly, I probably just got really lucky, and I hope you do too. But even with a few screen uniformity problems, I still think this TV's mini LED backlighting, processing, upscaling, and color performance are way ahead of the competition at this price. Way ahead. Anyway, I could go on about how great the picture quality is, but it is because it is so good that it makes this next section of my review just that much more frustrating. Because the fact is, for as good as the picture quality is, the user experience, at least right now, is not where it needs to be. So if you follow TV news at all, then you already know that when TCL's first Google TVs came out, they were buggy or glitchy. Bad enough that Best Buy, and maybe this was a knee-jerk reaction on their part, but Best Buy yanked them from store shelves. To TCL's credit, they came through with a software patch pretty quickly, and the TVs came back to Best Buy's shelves, and here we are today. Now, to be absolutely certain I had the latest software update, I went into the TV's menu and forced it to look for one, and I already had the latest software and firmware. So now it's time to tell you about the bugs / glitches and quirks associated with this TV. At least these are the ones I experienced as recently as February 3rd, 2022. And understand, I'm reporting on these things in hopes that they are soon resolved, but we'll get to that in a moment. Perhaps the most annoying thing is that apps just crash on me. Netflix crashes within 15 minutes of me pressing the play button. And the TV usually just goes back to whatever I was watching before I was watching, say, Netflix. Sometimes that's the home screen, sometimes that's an HDMI input, and it's not just Netflix, it's HBO Max and Disney Plus, and honestly, I stopped testing apps there. Oh, and sometimes the app just won't load. The next issue is around volume control, which is mostly fine if you're just using the TV's speakers, but if you're using ARC or eARC, it's slow to respond and sometimes it gets stuck. Like, I pressed the volume up button, I guess for too long, and no matter what I did, I could not get the volume to stop going up. I had to turn off our Marantz AV receiver so I didn't blow my speakers. Next bug is that the picture mode settings for over-the-air channels won't stick. They kept going back to Vivid, which if you've ever watched OTA TV on Vivid mode, it is some of the ugliest picture you have ever seen. People look purple. I mean, it's bad. Anyway, what's up with that? And frustratingly, it's not consistent. Sometimes it's a problem and sometimes it's not. Also, there were several times when I was watching something in Dolby Vision and Dolby Vision picture modes weren't available in the settings. The TV acted as if I was watching regular HDR. I was able to get around it eventually, but the bug is definitely there. Also, Dolby Vision IQ requires motion smoothing, and unlike many TVs, motion smoothing isn't available on a sliding scale, so it's always full-on, maxed out frame doubling, and it looks horrible to me. Fortunately for me, I'm all about using Dolby Vision Dark, but motion smoothing should not be forced on Dolby Vision IQ. I mean, look, it isn't even a menu option here. I expect better for a Dolby setting. So those are some of the issues that I personally experienced, and I've spoken to others at Digital Trends who own this TV, and they had problems like audio just dropping out. And the only way to get around it is to reset the TV. Not just power it off and then power it back on, but do a full reset. And yes, I verified implied they had the latest software. On the other hand, I'm also seeing some professional reviews out there just coming out that indicate that the reviewers had a mostly trouble-free experience. So I guess it's possible that the issues I experienced myself are maybe unique to me. But those are the bugs. Now let's talk about quirks. They aren't too many, but they are annoying. I think the best example is that options like variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode are buried in the menu system. They should be easy to access, especially if this TV is meant to be gaming friendly, which it is, and I'll talk about gaming in just a moment. Also, there's no input button on the remote control. And call me old school if you want, but I switch inputs often enough that an input button on the remote is still one of the few buttons I think you need to have on a remote. I don't want to have to surf on screen to get from over the air to HDMI 3, please and thank you. Now, there are some other quirks, but I think they aren't going to bother anyone but reviewers like me who have to do the same thing over and over with a TV that most normal folks will never have to bother with. So I'm going to leave the quirkiness there. Pivoting back to another positive, this TV is outstanding for gaming. Low input lag is at about 14 milliseconds at 60 Hertz or with VRR, that's in game mode. And at 120 Hertz, it's closer to 6 milliseconds. The TV does support 4K 120 Hertz gaming with HDR, but not with Dolby Vision. And the graphics look fantastic on this TV, as expected since the picture quality is so good. Frankly, if you were to use a game console and nothing else with this TV, I think you'd be in really good shape because you wouldn't be switching inputs, you wouldn't be relying on the smart TV apps, you'd just stick to one 4K 120 Hertz HDMI input and be golden. Oh, and as far as sound quality goes, it's passable. The TV has separate mid-range drivers and tweeters, and that helps a little bit with clarity, but it still sounds kind of boxy. So get an outboard sound solution if you can. Okay, so can I recommend this TV? Honestly, I feel super conflicted. The TV's picture quality is fantastic. Everyone should get to enjoy it. But would I put it in my own home? Right now, I'd be a bit worried. I mean, I might, betting on the fact that TCL might sort out the bugs in yet another future update for the TV, and that seems relatively low risk. But what if I get it home and my family gets frustrated and doesn't buy the whole "it'll get better soon" rationale? In the end, I will say buy this TV for its outstanding picture quality if you can put up with the bugs for a little while. That's a big if. Or maybe wait until there's enough evidence that the bugs are all ironed out. This TV will be around for a while, and I trust TCL is gonna get it all straightened out. But for now, I guess I'm just gonna have to live with being frustrated that this TV is on the verge of perfection, undone by the fact that smart TVs can sometimes be a pain in the neck. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. What do you think? Are you willing to put up with a buggy smart TV because the picture quality is so awesome? Leave me a comment about that down below so we can talk about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and here's 2 other videos I think you'll like.